directly to camera? No, because I'll be looking down like that.
Yeah, that's not good, no. But she looks a bit like a prisoner like this, no? Wait.
Are you pointing it up my nose?
What should we
kind of, no.
Shouldn't you have it higher?
We can raise it a bit.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it much more zoomed. Actually, zoom it. Yeah. That's good. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
So, Halina, we are very pleased to have you. So, you are the director of the Foundation for Democracy and Sustainable Development, and you're here in Munich for the workshop on representing future generations. So, here's a question to start. Some people claim that there's a tension between the democratic ideal and the goal of sustainability. What do you think about it?
I think we have to distinguish between the ideal of democracy and all the different ways in which democracy around the world is practiced at the moment. If you think about sustainability, which is basically about a healthy environment and fairness for everyone now and in the future, there are lots of problems with the ways in which democracy is currently practiced. Number one among them, I think, is the problem of short-termism, which comes from the dominance of electoral cycles. So we elect people for 4 or 5 years, then 2 or 3 years into the electoral cycle, they're thinking about what they can give back to the electorate before the next election. But it's really important to distinguish between the practice and the ideal. And when you think big picture, it's very clear that sustainability needs democracy. We're not going to get to this fair world with a healthy environment unless we involve people democratically in decision making. And equally, the other way around, democracy itself needs sustainability. As if you think about things like climate change, demographic shifts, resource scarcity, when these hit the ground, these are social challenges, they're not environmental challenges, and they're the kinds of social challenges that can deeply destabilise democracy. So both of those are reasons to think about transforming and evolving the practice of democracy. Not the ideal, we should remain committed to the ideal, but the practice, so that it's better designed to deliver sustainability.
So when we think about practical institutions, we often think about parliamentary commissions, but of course we could have peer-to-peer initiatives, NGOs and so on. So how do you see the priorities here, or how would you see the division of labor between state-based institutions and the civil society?
I don't see it as an either-or choice. I think it's, to use a horrible term, a twin-track approach. On the one hand, I think there's a great deal that can be achieved in democracies through leadership. You know, the charismatic individual or even the highly networked individual working with civil society to achieve transformative change for the future. And in that process, institutions matter. Institutions can chart a course. They can create spaces for dialogue that wouldn't otherwise happen. But for the longer term, and indeed in some cases for the short to medium term, institutions are unstable. And leadership based on the charismatic individual is unstable because individuals change. So for the longer term, the kinds of shifts we're talking about to get democracy to work for sustainability have to be underpinned by cultural transformation. They have to come from the people, be of the people, for the people, and by the people. There's a huge amount that civil society groups can do to experiment with innovative institutions, different ways of doing things. In the UK, we've set up an Alliance for Future Generations, which has, I think it's about 18 NGOs, about 30 individuals, working to find out ways, to discover ways in which we can test out different approaches. Guardians for Future Generations in local decision making, for example. That's something you can just take upon yourself. I am going to go to a community meeting and I'm going to speak out about how something affects future generations. So it's a twin track approach in which laws, institutions, political processes, and us as individuals and in civil society can all make a difference.
One more thing is we often insist on the fact that if we want to have a proper institution that deals with intergenerational issues, we should not only look at environmental matters or about social matters, but we should have an integrated vision. So one of the things that we don't see happening much is institutions coming up with measurement strategies to try to have an aggregate vision of, are we consuming too much? Are we transferring enough on the whole to the next generation if we look at both the environment and social dimensions? So do you see these kind of measurement methods appearing among the groups you're working with?
I suppose there's that saying, isn't there, that the map is not the same as the territory, and that's, of course, the case with indicators. They're useful to signal the significance of changing circumstances over time, but they don't provide the answer. So it's potentially useful, I think, and I'm thinking about this for the first time now, to have a set of indicators that can inform decision-making about the choices and sometimes the trade-offs that have to be made in securing the needs of future generations. But I think it's early days still. I think we need to create an institutional space in which we can explore some of the dilemmas and explore particularly some of the choices that you face in balancing fairness in the present, when there are plenty of people who live in poverty and don't have enough food to put in their mouths at the end of the day, balancing that with the need to meet the needs of future generations. My personal view is there's no necessary trade-off. But we need a space in which we can have these conversations, and indicators will not provide the answer. They provide information to put into that space to be deliberated and discussed by a wide range of people.
Just a quick last question. So the Foundation for Democracy and Sustainable Development recently released a manifesto in several languages. There is one of the principles is Principle 2. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
It's a principle which is, so the manifesto is a 3-page document in English at least, it runs to 4 pages in some languages, which is designed to set out an agenda for change so that people around the world can work in all their diverse ways to try and get democracy designed and adapted and equipped to deliver sustainability. Principle 2 says take the long view. And it's a principle that's designed to address the problem of short-termism in the practice of much democracy around the world. So it states that there's a problem, it says that we're exceeding the Earth's environmental limits, and we need to find ways of taking a longer-term perspective in order to address this. And then it's accompanied by 2 commitments. And when people sign up to join the Democracy and Sustainability platform, we ask them to experiment with at least one of the commitments contained in the manifesto every year. There are 2 attached to the principle of take the long view. One is about showing leadership through our active citizenship for future generations. So it could mean standing up and saying, but in terms of the interests of future generations, this new development on the green space in my community doesn't make any sense. It could mean that. And the other principle is about supporting experimentation in new institutions and policy frameworks that can bring the long term into the present and allow proper discussion, if you like, outside the boundaries of the temptation to always look to the electoral cycle, to allow that kind of discussion about what the long-term needs of future generations might be and how they might be recognised in ways that meet fairness in the present without replicating it down the generations for the future and meet the needs of future generations as well.
Thank you very much, Halina.
Thank you.